standards exist to make life easier to everyone who uses it, to the users. The idea is to put into a document a set of rules or a set of guidance that we believe it's best practice, and that will help stabilize processes in order to be more easy for the new professionals to start their activity, and for the not so new professionals to have an approach, I would say a plan, do, check, act approach that will lead to continuous improvement and to continuous reflection on the profession. I think that is the beauty of the standards.
I think for me it's about having an objective or a goal to meet. And if we put it on paper, then we'll know what exactly is meant in terms of what the teacher should be as a professional, and in terms of what they should achieve for the students. Basically, it's to help the students learn, and how to make them learn, how to get the students to be interested, how to get the fun in learning, introduce the fun in learning, and keeping them engaged with the learning tasks, learning activities, and so on. So if we have standards, then at least the teachers know how far more to go if they were still lacking. So it's about competencies and so on.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, it's a form of doing a process approach to teaching and learning, planning what you are going to do, doing it as you have planned, check if you are achieving the results and the objectives that you have posed to yourself, and then act in accordance with the results. Either you correct the way you are doing it, or you continue to improve it and use it that way.
Yeah. And it can be self-checking if they know what standards to reach, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be anyone monitoring, but of course in the real world, there's the inspectorate, for example, in some countries, to make sure that the teachers are actually teaching the way they're supposed to, thinking the way they're supposed to, treating the children the way they're supposed to, and so on.
I think they can self-check. If they have this PDCA, plan, do, check, act approach, which can be applied to everything in life, and is known as the continuous improvement cycle, they can actually help check if they are achieving the results they have planned. But there is something about standards that I would like to underline, which is there is this misconception that standards will make everything equal. And of course, when we are talking about education, we can't treat all students equally. We have to differentiate, because they are human beings and they are different from each other. And I think teachers have a key role in and this is part of their alignment with the standards. That is, know exactly how to add their skills, their talent, to what is in the standard already, to give that extra plus that will make the difference in the classroom. And that will differentiate the teachers we will remember when we are adults, and the teachers that we have just vanished from our memory.
Yeah, and I think there's one word, to me, a key word for teachers to remember. They should be able to produce the learning among the students. If they have not produced the learning, that means the learning can be observable, can be measured, or can be observed, then they have not done their job. So that's about some kind of standards again. I mean, their main work is to help the students learn. Ideally, of course, they get the students to enjoy the learning in the process. But if they have not produced the learning, then there's something wrong. And as you said, then period of adjustment, the self-check and, the monitoring perhaps, should tell them that they have to improve, they have to relearn perhaps, they have to reapply some of what they did before, which were not correctly done, not correctly implemented, and aligning with the needs or the objectives of the school, meeting the needs of parents who want to see their children excel perhaps in school, or who want to see their children become develop into a wholesome individual. I mean, whatever the reason is.
Yeah, I think that is very important. That focus on the students and not only the students, but in quality we would call it the customer, even if this word is strange when we apply it to education. Who is the customer? The customer is not only the students, it's the parents of the students, yes. It's the society, it's the next level of education who expects the students to have acquired already a certain level of competences, and it's about. It belongs to the student, to the teachers, the responsibility to identify all those needs from all those separate different customers in education, and then they have to meet all their expectations.
Yes, I think some people call these various parties that you mentioned the stakeholders.
Exactly.
So you have the child, you have the parents, you have the even the school principal is a stakeholder, the Ministry of Education, the policymakers, the taxpayers, right? Because that's because in the end, the students are supposed to graduate and become useful individuals. And employers nowadays talk about individuals with creativity skills, problem-solving skills, communication skills, presentation skills. So those are the things that teachers need to help inculcate from the beginning or develop from as early as possible.
All interest parties. All interest parties
yes,
have to be identified, and we have to study what their needs and expectations are.
Yes.
Otherwise, we can't.
Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. I mean, for the teacher and for the student.
Exactly. And you said something that was very interesting, and I totally agree with you. That is, the teacher must assure that the learner, the student, can produce learning outcomes and can produce evidences of learning. And nowadays, I believe more and more that actually teachers don't teach, students learn. So teachers do facilitate that learning, that capacity of learning by engaging them, as you said, by making it fun. I think entertainment, and there is a word that is a little bit out of fashion now, that is edutainment, but I still like it because I think studying should be entertainment, should be it used to be centuries ago, so why is it not nowadays? Because students have many other distractions that they prefer, and that maybe can lead us to technology. Right. Because they have so many technology distractions nowadays, so maybe it's time to bring the technology inside the classroom instead of fighting it.
Right. On that note, I have friends, I'm sure you have friends too, and I'm sure many people realize that parents give some kind of personal IT device to their children as young as 2 or 3 years old. Tablet computers are one, and it's an excellent example. I think yesterday Salman Khan, or was it? No, who was it? Somebody mentioned that the iPads, for example, sit comfortably in the young child's hands. The minute they get it, they know what to do. So it's so intuitive. I think it was Salman Khan. He said it must have been that Apple targeted the 2-year-olds as one of their cohorts, right? Yeah, so now if they are getting these devices from a very young age, by the time they get to school, if they don't see those devices in the school, they will get distracted in the sense that, Yeah, there's no more device. So, and yet everything else is so boring, because the device makes learning come alive. They can learn a new language, they can learn new words, they can learn about colors, you know, from an early age, and they can learn how to read using simple devices like that. And maybe in 5 years' time, those devices will will become very affordable to most, if not all, people. And internet, I think, used to be very expensive to access, but nowadays it's not too expensive, and gradually it becomes like a mobile signal, affordable, and
yes,
just that one device becomes, you know, I mean, you can do so many things.
I totally agree. I have two grandchildren, and one of my youngest grandchildren, at the age of 8 months, she could play a game at iPhone. And her brother, with two years old, was playing with the iPad. I have pictures of this because I think nobody would believe it if I didn't have captured in the image of it. But I think you're right. In maybe 5 years or less, we will have, most governments will have programs such as the Chinese e-school bag program, the Korean, I don't remember the name of the Korean program, but it's also a program to have iPads and e-textbooks in schools, in primary schools. And that is very good because, as you say, the kids, when they go to school, they are already trained in the use of these devices. So this raises a problem. Who is not trained? It's the teachers. So we need to focus the training program for the teachers so they can actually not surpass the IT competence of children, because that will be impossible. Mm-hmm. The children will always be more IT skilled than the teachers from now on, but at least that they can match and they can know how to make use of those devices in class.